No, we are in the thick of it, and, going strong, feeling good.
Well, that's good. I like to hear that. So we'll play to meet you in person. I've heard good things, so that's nice. So, I'd like to hear when people say nice things. So
Well, I guess that's half more than half the battle in this game. So we'll take it. I appreciate it.
I guess just give me a sense first on what this process has been like for you. There's so many things going on nationally. How have you tried to rein everybody in and say, we've got to focus on this local election because this is equally as important, if not more important, than what's going on nationally right now?
Interesting. Talking to people, I'm just finishing up a 50 events in 50 days barnstorming tour of the district where we've literally been talking to everyone. And, there's still a lot of people who have need to have a government that works, need to have someone in Washington who has their back and who's advocating for them. And whether it's around jobs, whether it's around the healthcare system, which is, medical debt's the number one cause of bankruptcy, whether it's people feeling, people along the coastlines feeling the effects of climate change and needing to, have some real serious action to try to stem off those things, or, all kinds of issues, education. A lot of women we talk to obviously are deeply concerned about not having rights that other women have had for the last 50 years around bodily autonomy. So there are real issues, real kitchen table issues that people care about. Of course, we hear lots about the national races because that dominates a lot of what's on the media. But there are, still lots of real core issues that people are dealing with, and so that's where we're really diving in and gaining some real traction.
You talked about that affordable healthcare and especially women's rights when it comes to healthcare and the abortion issue. How important do you think that's going to be, not just in your current situation, but then when it comes in November?
I think it's going to be a big issue. I mean, look, I think abortion's been ever since Roe was taken away. I think there have been a number of opportunities for women to express and for people to express their opinions on that, and they voted to reinstate abortion rights to whatever degree. So I think it's going to be a big issue. Look, in the states that outlawed abortion, there have been 60,000 forced pregnancies from women and girls who've been raped or who've suffered from incest. Like, that's just, that in and of itself is a moral issue and is a huge problem. So it's a serious issue. And look, we're finding that women in general are, really angry about this issue and wanting to focus their political energies in a way to try to create some difference. So, and then in our race, Nancy Mace, the current incumbent, she's been kind of all over on this. She has at times talked about the fact that the Republican Party, in her view, needs to be more open to women's reproductive freedom, but then she's the co-sponsor of a 6-week ban. So again, it's, people are really wanting to make sure that these rights are reinstated.
Do you believe it's a federal issue or a state issue?
I think it's a federal issue. I think we need to codify Roe. I think we need to give women back the dignity to make decisions over their own bodies. Look, I just believe that government has no place getting in between a woman and her physician on these issues.
You talked about investing in public schools and how the government sort of gets in the way of that. Talk to me a little bit about what you mean by that and what you want to do.
Yeah, look, I engage with the issue of education really in a deep way. My wife is a special education teacher. Both my parents were teachers. 3 of my 4 grandparents were teachers. And many know that I'm running for the same seat in Congress that my great-great-grandfather, Robert Smalls, served in. He wrote the legislation in South Carolina to create the public school system, which was the first public school system in the country. So I feel like I've got a little skin in this game. I've seen the power that education can have in transforming lives. So I think, yeah, I just think we need to fund our public schools appropriately. We need to cut out all these schemes of skimming off money to charter schools. Look, 90% of American children go to public schools. We need to ensure that each child gets a high performing education. There's research that shows that lifetime earnings are directly connected to education. And so, when we don't deliver high performing education, we handicap our kids, and we just got to do better.
You talked about some of the divisive antics. I know in your sort of statement that you put on your website and such too, we are so divided sort of as a country, and especially in the government side. Is there anything, or what do you believe you can bring to maybe change that? Or is there any changing that? And instead, you really do have to sort of just do your best to work across the aisle.
No, I absolutely, I'm an optimistic person. I absolutely believe that our best days as a country and as Americans are ahead of this. Gandhi said that you've got to be the change in the world that you want to see. And in part, that's why I'm running and I think there are people all around the country who are just tired and fed up with all of the histrionics and the drama and the divisiveness that we see in Washington. And I think people all around are running to try to, make a difference. My background's in business. I've run companies and organizations over the last 25 years or so. And so I've grown up in a context where you've got to reach across all kinds of obstacles to get things done. And I'm certainly open and willing to work with anyone of goodwill to get things done. I was founding president and CEO of the International African American Museum in Charleston. And that was a project that not many thought that the Republican General Assembly in South Carolina would agree to fund. And we were able to reach across the aisle. When I'm out talking to people, I will just tell you, there's far more that unites us all as human beings, as Americans. When I talk to folks and I say, hey, who here needs a good job to take care of your family? Everybody's hand goes up. Who here needs a healthcare system that provides good quality care at affordable prices that doesn't bankrupt you? Everybody's hand goes up. Who here needs to have clean air and clean water, needs for our coastlines to be intact? So there are so many things that we're all, without regard to party or any other differences, that we all have in common. And that's what I'm focused on, is making sure that there are people in Washington, particularly that the first Congressional District has someone in Washington who is looking to fight for them around these core basic issues.
Because do you believe in this climate and the way we do things, not being a political insider in many ways actually helps you because you can see it from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. Look, there are definitely people on the inside who I look to for guidance. I mean, Congressman Clyburn has been in the Congress for a long time. He's one of the most productive members of Congress. And so I will look to him for sure for guidance on how to maneuver through all the politics. I just think we have to have an overall orientation that we've just got to minimize all of this political drama, because there are people who need us to have their backs and to work for them. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from.
And you talk about the environment, obviously, in the first district, we are reliant so much when there's tourism dollars, et cetera, on that. The former president came out and basically denied climate change and doesn't believe that this is an issue. We talked about just a few more feet of beachfront property out there. I know your views are very different when it comes to this and the need to do something about climate change.
Yeah, look, they don't call us the Low Country for no reason. And in fact, according to a New York Times article last month, we're actually getting lower because of the groundwater is getting sucked out. We're actually getting lower. Look, we got to get serious about this. So much of our economy, as you mentioned, is connected to our coastlines, and even there are still Gullah Geechee communities up and down the coastline that really rely on shrimping and fishing and to survive. So yeah, I mean, I support President Biden in the Inflation Reduction Act. Was the single greatest investment in the economy. In the environment ever. And I think there's a lot of things from a national standpoint that we need to do. I think locally we need to continue to look for solutions. And then look, I'm a business guy, and so I think there's even a market-based solution. I think we need to create some incentives to attract companies who can create jobs around, green and blue kinds of jobs to help the environment. But we got to get serious about it. And, no one is going to necessarily come and give us a solution. We've got to step up and do what we can do here in the Low Country to try to contribute to eradicating the change, minimizing the change of climate change.
Because there really is a balance between the environment side and the business side, is what you're saying, that you can't just sit here and knock everything down knowing that the business is connected to that.
Yeah, no, I look, South Carolina, I don't know when it was, maybe 20 years ago, decided that it wanted to attract businesses in the auto industry. And all of a sudden now we've got lots of auto companies here in South Carolina. We can do the same kind of thing and attract companies that will help to, come up with solutions for our climate crisis. And so that's my job. If we can help to create a solution, help to make the problem better, or at least slow down the impact of climate change and create good paying jobs, then that's a win-win.
Absolutely. You look at a situation where obviously South Carolina, a mixed, some people will call it purple, some will call it red, some call it blue, especially in the first district somewhere. Supreme Court's ruling, though, left that district in a position where Nancy Mace won by double digits the last time around. What's your feeling about that court decision? And is it okay that the statement that basically partisan politics are okay when it comes to districting and gerrymandering?
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say right at the top, from a campaign standpoint, the Supreme Court's decision really has very little impact at all. We looked at the lines as they were currently drawn, and we decided to jump in when we were able to create a path to victory, with that. But it's disappointing. I mean, 30,000 people lost their political voice. And, notions of one person, one vote, and our democratic sort of principles that our country is supposed to be founded on, they're being, thrown out, around the country. So it's disappointing. This is about, one of the things that I think is going to be really important for us with the lines as they are drawn is just getting the vote out. And so, we are investing in building a good old fashioned ground game and reaching out and connecting with voters in ways that maybe traditionally hasn't, we're going to have enough money to be able to do the typical kind of communications, but we're also going to have, we've already got an army of volunteers out canvassing neighborhoods, phone banking, and just doing the good old fashioned retail politics that makes sense. And we think that is going to be a big difference in this election.
Does it matter at all that Mac Ford says, well, he's outraised you 2-1, so that should say something when it comes to this election and coming down for November?
He's outraised us 2-1 over the last month. We've outraised him. He's raised about 300,000, maybe a little more. We've raised, going on $800,000. So, while we've beaten him every quarter in fundraising, except for this little kind of artificial period. We're out connecting with voters. We are out, getting in front of people and talking about our vision for the district and why we will be a better person in DC than Nancy Mace. So, looking at a little sort of artificial sliver, I don't think overcomes the broad reality of who's outperformed whom in this race.
And when it comes to this race, there's so many extremes these days. There seem to be obviously a lot of the MAGA voters out there who are locked in no matter what you do. And a lot of Democratic voters are going to be locked in. What do you have to do to get those moderate voters that are going to make a difference going forward? Obviously, you're focused on June 1st. June 11th, but June 1st as it was first. But what do you have to do to deal with those moderate voters to make you a candidate that truly can win, not just in June, but in November?
Well, moderate voters are typically business folks, people who might be a little more fiscally conservative, but maybe a little more progressive on social issues. I'm the business guy in the race. I've been in business for 40 years. I've got a career of increasing responsibility, leadership, and impact. The last 25 years, I've had C-suite roles. And look, I've done business on 4 continents. I've engaged with foreign heads of state. I've been rewarded and honored for my work. Charleston Business Magazine named me one of the 50 most influential people in the region. Because of my leadership of the International African American Museum, the city of Charleston even named a day after me. So I've had an opportunity to serve on my community's, the board of the Chamber of Commerce. Like, I'm the business guy. I've balanced budgets and, created jobs, brought jobs to South Carolina. And so we're finding that people who are these moderate Republicans, they're most, resonant with me because of that background.
Just since you obviously have the background in Charleston and so well known there, for our side down here, for Beaufort, for Bluffton, for Hilton Head, what do you have to say to those voters and what you want to do in our area as well, even though we know Charleston is so key to a lot of this race?
Yeah, I mean, I happen to live at the moment in Mount Pleasant, but my roots are in Beaufort County. We've been able to track my original ancestors got here to the Low Country in the early to mid 1790s. We know that my 3 times great grandmother was born on Ladies Island in 1796. Her son was Robert Smalls, who many down there certainly have some sense of. I'm running for the same seat in Congress that he served in 150 years ago, beginning this year. So my connection to Beaufort and to southern part of the district is really well established, and I'm proud to spend time down there and to represent those folks. And in an interesting way, when elected, I'll be representing people who many of my ancestors represented. When I'm elected, I'll be the 4th in the last 5 generations of people. It started with Robert Smalls, but it didn't end there. A number of other folks. My great-grandfather also served from Beaufort in the General Assembly, Sam Bamfield. And I had a grandfather who served in office as well. So I'm be hard-pressed to find anyone who's got a deeper connection to Beaufort County and the southern part of the district, certainly not in this race.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it for your time. I enjoyed it, and I've, as I said, I heard good things, and I'm wishing you luck come June 11th, definitely.
Thank you so much. We're working hard, and the one last thing I would just say is, Nancy Mace, you probably heard in internal documents, she calls herself National Nancy. She has these quotas that her staff have to get her on the national news a certain minimum times, not local news, national news. With all of her various stunts, it's pretty clear that, she's looking at other political roles that she's looking to jump into, or maybe a gig on Fox News. I just want to tell people, I want them to be really clear. I'm running to represent the people of the 1st Congressional District. I've had a wonderful business career. I've done a lot of things I mentioned just a few moments ago, but all of those things were stepping stones to have an opportunity to represent people in the 1st Congressional District. As I mentioned, people, many of whom may be descended from people that my ancestors represented. I'm working hard to make sure that there's someone in DC who wakes up thinking about the Low Country, who goes to bed thinking about the Low Country, and who has everyone's back. So that's what we're doing. We're working hard, and we appreciate everyone's consideration.
No, that's a good point, that everybody feels that Nancy's more worried about what's going on in Washington than what's going on in her own district right now, too. And I'm sure that's a focus of what you've been dealing with.
No question.
All right. Well, I hope to talk to you some more, maybe after June 11th. Who knows, as you continue this on, because I'll be there covering you the whole way through.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.